Game number 1, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the winner bracket final. Round 1 of the playoffs of the Endgame Gear Masters. Where we're going to determine the final 4 players that will make it to the offline part of the playoffs here. To the final in Germany, in Osnabrück on the 17th of August. It's going to be pretty epic. There's a lot of prize money on the line, obviously, here at the tournament. 2,500 euros and additional hardware from Endgame Gear and from AMD as well. And it's going to be pretty epic. It's going to be a great day. Barbecue, WarCraft 3, having a couple of the old faces in there. Likely Hazops and Taker also going to make it to Germany for the event. And obviously it's open to the public. So if you guys want to check it out, you're more than welcome to stop by. If you want to have more information, you can head over to endgamegear-masters.com and have a look at the website and if you want to attend. And it would be great to see you guys there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also 2 days after my birthday, which is kind of a little bit of a special for me as well. Coming back to WarCraft 3 here after I casted, or basically started with WarCraft 3 and casted the game for 8 years. It's kind of fun, an expectation of Reforged. But now that we're here on Northern Isles, we have all the way up to the top right, Cash, and he obviously wants to make sure that he advances to the next round. This is a double elimination system. We have in the earlier rounds still best of 3s, which means this is also a best of 3 series between the two of them. But once that we are down to the final 4 players, this is going to be turned into best of 5 matches. And we have obviously also a loser bracket here. We already saw previously the match between White and Nerdy and Neutron, where Neutron was actually eliminated by White and Nerdy. A pretty big feat by the German Undead player. And EnTe is going to try and draw even with him now to meet him in the semi-final of the winner bracket. But the winner of the next series that is coming up is actually going to make it to the offline final and will be the first player to qualify for the offline event. So there's definitely quite a bit on stakes for the day. But let's see actually how that works out. So for now we have the Rod of Necromancy. Death Knight is already starting to move around here to get some experience for himself. Cash is opening up with the Farseer again. Has already played in the final qualifier. And Cash's story is actually pretty awesome when you think about it for the qualifiers. Now if you're not quite familiar with the entire system, we had 3 qualification tournaments that were open to the public where players could gather points that would drop them into a ranking, and the top 8 of that ranking were then qualified for the playoffs, which we're looking at right now. And especially the first 2 tournaments were absolutely dominated by Foggy. I mean, that guy is an absolute monster. He's a beast. He took his opponents down in both qualifiers, won both of them. And Cash didn't participate in any of the first 2 tournaments, which also meant that when he entered the race in the 3rd tournament, he didn't have a single point to his name, which made it really difficult for him to qualify. And he made his way into the grand final of the 3rd qualifier, and honestly just was trying to take his opponent down, but Neutron dropped him, and so Cash came in 2nd. And that for just a moment made it look like he might not even be able to attend the event here, but as it turned out, he actually was able to gain enough points, just barely, to then make it, also with his map score included, to the playoffs, and is now fighting against EnTe, who, smart as he is, I mean German efficiency, right? Was able to participate in more than only 1 tournament, and therefore slowly and steadily started to gain points and ensure that he would be part of the playoffs. But he's going up against Cash right now and has, of course, to try and make it into the next round of the winner bracket here. If he loses out at this one, then he still has a chance going through the lower bracket, but it's definitely going to be a little bit tougher to make it happen there. Both of the players currently still looking to see that they get some extra experience. Chain Lightning is coming through as we're having the Wolves and Chain Lightning spec'd into by the Farseer. No surprises there. The Death Knight with items, the Claws of Attack +6, running straight into the surround here, but also because he just doesn't give a shit, because guess what? He has a Cloak of Shadows as well. The surround is still on, but what are you gonna do? A little bit more experience now gathered by EnTe as he's trying to set that Death Call into vision. And this is one of those moments where as the Farseer you are a little bit pissed off, because if you don't want to deal with one thing, then it is the Shadow Melt here. And I would say that any Undead player that can play that game against an Orc is probably quite happy. For the longest time, Orc players have just been a pain in the Undead's ass by playing Blade Master over and over again and going through Windwalk, 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 and Windwalk. And it seems a little bit like EnTe is going to be quite happy to give his opponent a taste of their own medicine. So he's just turning things around here. We have, as the second hero, Town and Chieftain coming in. beastery already built as the stronghold had been reached. And down at the bottom of the map, we're having Halls of the Dead tech completed straight into the Black Citadel before the Lich gets added. So it's delaying the Lich slightly and focusing mostly on the Death Knight. Super fast tech from him right now. And still the attempt to harass, especially that Cloak of Shadows, is currently paying off mightily. Cash is just sitting there and has to try and get the experience, has to try and delay the attack pattern a little bit. In this case, nothing happening around this. Gets actually a Cloak of Shadows himself. And are we going to see that coil? Nah, doesn't have the mana yet. It's currently still sitting at only 66. So yeah, but nice setup for him. And the Farseer on level 3 nearly. Cash then again, I mean, again, it's annoying obviously, but he's still looking good. He's still getting the experience through. He's also expanding again. And I don't really think that EnTe caught that yet, but he is obviously going to check. With that early of a creep at the natural, you want to make sure that there's no expansion being set in. And let's face it, we actually had in the previous games that Cash played in this tournament against Undead already him focusing on a very similar style. So the early expansion is part of the equation again. And now EnTe is attempting to force a cancel here. If he can pull that off, guys, that would be amazing for him. I mean, that would honestly be the shit. And the one thing that we are seeing the Orc player try and do is to make sure that that Death Knight is not going to get anywhere near this. But the Skeletons alone are already keeping it low. And here's the cancel. Nice. That's first of all gold lost. And in it, ooh, nice move here. If that Peon falls, it's a problem. So yeah, first of all, he's able to cancel it, which obviously denies time. And in addition to that, he was now also able to force the cancellation, which costs gold too. If he kills the Peon here too, it means that Cash would have to send another one from the main base, so even more time would have been lost in that case. But just forcing the cancel in the first place was amazing for EnTe. It was really great. He's sitting at 36 against 37 supply, having the Tower and Chieftain creeping solo right now, trying to ensure that he is going to get to level 3 as quickly as possible. I mean, even level 2 obviously important. You want to get the Endurance Aura, but if you have that War Stomp then on level 3, that's level 2, that's also pretty amazing. So the Farseer is doing the solo right now, saying, okay boys, I might be able to get a Chain Lightning through here. So far that's not quite the case, but might still be able to pop that off. And in this case, he's getting delayed quite heavily. The attack against the Death Knight, and the surround is there! The coil saves the skeleton, and that's not how it was planned. Chain Lightning has now been used, but obviously only to break the surround, which means that the creep is still up for the taking for EnTe. And there was a really nice deny of the harass that he had there. Great early game again. And that's actually something that EnTe was able to pull off multiple times now against opponents previously. So we have the big attack still with the TC at the front here. Ooh, Lionhorn of Stormwind. Another good one for him. Yeah, getting those aura items is always a bit of a dream. And a mana stone with that too. That TC is going to be a happy, happy panda in the next fight. I mean, not only is he going to stomp his way to victory, very likely, but having the aura is making those beefy orc units even more tanky. So now we're having, for the Death Knight, parry up to Vitality and also Potion of Greater Healing. So another 2 big ones that he currently has here. And the level 2 for the Lich with 11 extra damage thanks to the claw that was already taken over or given over to him. To the top we are still seeing that base not quite done, and a move into the middle with the first few raiders in. And this is really where as an Undead player you have to be a bit more cautious, because obviously with raiders in the mix this is the moment where an orc can force the fight against you. If you just get one ensnare through after another, that is a problem. If you're happy to take that fight, it's obviously not an issue for you. But if you still feel like you can't take these battles, then it's you have another thing coming for yourself. And there's the attack against the Lich. First Entangle is through. There's at least the Frost Armor taken. The stun against the Death Knight, and that's the kill. Perfect timing. Stuns the DK so that he can't coil the Lich. Gets the Chain Lightning through against the main target. And that's the second hero down the drain and takes a lot of the sting away from the Undead player, as you obviously rely onto that Nova quite heavily. But there's the third hero coming in. It's time for the Dark Ranger to shine, but the Destroyers are getting attacked immediately upon taking flight. Obviously important now to shut them down as quickly as possible, since the magic damage is going to melt those heavy armored grunts away. The Kodo is also coming in, ready for a little bit of snack time. The Happy Hippo already on the move, trying to see if he can maybe get close enough to one of those Crypt Fiends. Good coil against the Raiders. The Destroyer falls though. That was the second one to bite the dust, as EnTe is pulling the plug and taking the parachute straight out of there. Now it's tricky. I mean, not only did he lose the Lich, he lost 2 of his Destroyers, which means that obviously in terms of tech units, he's starting to fall behind. Cash has by now also saturated the space at the top. There's not really defense, there's no burrow just yet that would help him to keep those peons alive if anything sneaks into that peon line. But he's getting more and more experience right now. The Tyrant Chieftain is nearly hitting level 4 and is getting more survivable by the second. Ring of Protection +4, Ring of Regeneration on top of that too, and still has that Mana Stone. It's an absolute beast. And this is not good for EnTe. Not good at all. I mean, he is in a pretty weird setup now, because he pretty much has to make this attack count. Doesn't have any attack upgrades just yet. You look into the main base of his opponent and we're seeing at least an armor upgrade coming through, and also the reinforced defenses. There's at least Dark Ranger Illusion scouting this one out. Sees the Orc Burrow being produced as well. Obviously for EnTe it's also important to get some additional experience. In a dream world you want to get the Lich on 3. But for that you would have to move the Death Knight away here, and he's not willing to do that. Has a couple of decent items. I mean, we're still talking about the Potion of Greater Healing for him. But now Cash is doing what he has to do. He's putting the aggression onto his opponent. He's forcing him to react. He doesn't want to play the Undead's game. He's attacking his opponent, moving in, forcing him to retreat, forcing him to deal with this. And here comes the attack with the Scroll of Speed. Can go with the Kodo straight for the snacks. 1 down, 2 down. Even if he portals out right now, it's going to be a win. I mean, already he is dominating the fight, but even if he would just portal, he would win this. He took some of the outer structures out, was able to snack already 2 of the Fiends, took 1 statue down, the second one is about to fall. Here comes another Wall Storm. Statue on the run, at least 1 Kodo eliminated as EnTe is currently fighting for his life. 52 supply for Cash, EnTe is at 43. The aggression is there, the Headhunters are going to be the next focus of EnTe, trying to use also now the Dark Ranger to spawn a couple of additional minions in the fight here. Another good micro move with the Burrowed Crypt Fiends that we're seeing. Cash is about to lose another one of his Kodos, which drops the Fiend as well. But the aggression against the Lich, the Stomp, and the kill, as the second kill against the second hero is coming through. Surround attempt against the Death Knight, not quite successful, but the Tyrant Chieftain still beasting it at the front line here, trying to get close enough, trying to go for another Stomp. Is going to get that through any moment. Here's another potion used by the Death Knight, but the surround is true, and that is going to seal the deal. Or will it? No, he's actually able to get away from it. EnTe on the run, but successful, as the Tyrant Chieftain is now moving out. The entire Orc army a little bit too close to the action here at the main base. It's always a problem going up against an Undead Bear's Black Citadel. That's exactly what he's doing right now. Yeah, Raider is on the run, but the fight is still ongoing as Cash is trying to go for the final blow. We're seeing the Lich finally about to be revived. Well, actually not about to be. It's going to take quite some time, but it's finally started. Another Fiend goes down, and keep in mind, behind this is still the expansion of the Orc player. Is he getting the kill? Yes! The Death Knight down, and EnTe in trouble. Abominations are joining the fun now, but with another Scroll of Speed, we're already seeing him moving away. Nice body blocks with the skeleton, but the Tyrant Chieftain is not going to fall here. It's not going to happen. The turnaround is there, and forced into another fight that he doesn't want to take, and that is the end of it. Cash taking game number 1 in the best of 3 series at the Endgame Gear Master playoffs against EnTe. Game number 2, everybody. Last Refuge is the map as we are heading into the second game between EnTe and Cash. Yeah, the Orc player able to cash in on his expansion. And, well, there we go. Cash just dropping the knowledge. EnTe wasn't really too happy with the outcome of game number 1. There was a bit of a problem. So, yeah, we'll see how game number 2 is working out for EnTe, as he's going to try and break through Cash's strategy here. But on Last Refuge, what are we going to get from the Orc player? A little bit of a chit-chat at this point. I mean, again, in the last game, it was pretty tricky for EnTe, despite the fact that he cancelled the expansion. So he cancelled the expansion, delayed the time a bit, but once that he lost his Lich for the first time, he couldn't execute a proper attack timing anymore. And then when the attack hit him, he was just not really prepared for this, and obviously time was also working in Cash's favor at the same time. But yeah, so with this setup, now let's see what we're going to get from the boys here. Cash obviously needs to win one more map in order to advance to face White and Nerdy in the next round of the tournament in the winner bracket semi-final. And the victor of the winner bracket semi-final would then also advance, well, first of all to the winner bracket final, obviously, duh, but also to the offline final of the event in Germany in Osnabrück. And that's the main goal for the players in the online part of the competition right now, obviously. All players that attend the offline final will get prize money, so the prize pool of 2,500 euros plus hardware is actually split between the 4 players that will attend the event. We're having, for now, Death Knight again against Farseer as the first heroes. And let's see how effective EnTe can be in the second game against this opponent. I mean, the Scout already revealing the top, of course. Oftentimes you want to see what hero your opponent starts with, and in some maps also which direction the hero goes after he leaves the altar, so that you know if you have a bit of an easier time creeping or if you need to be careful because your opponent is heading straight towards your own base. So that's a bit of an issue. But at this point, let's see how things work out for Cash. Items are obviously going to be a big part of this too. We're already seeing EnTe summoning a few additional skeleton warriors to start with his creep pattern as well, while taking into tier 2, and Cash with a circlet of nobility as the starting item for himself. Nice boost into the stats. Great item for him to take here. Forestro High Priest at the same time going down at the bottom of the map, which is where EnTe is going to focus his attention to get sentry wards, and that's actually a pretty sexy item. We've already seen a couple of players or a couple of games that were absolutely decided by finding early sentry wards and then placing them in good positions along the creep route or the expansion to set up a really nice creep jack and play around that. And that's pretty much what EnTe is going to try and go for this time as well. Now, there's a couple of skeletons already in the way, as we're seeing a creep attack here, but it's just summonings against summonings, and the attempt by both players to take a few of those downs. There is an advantage that we have now for Cash when it comes to that summon battle. While he is taking down the skeleton warriors, the problem with the spirit wolves is that once one of them falls low, Cash can always resummon them and make sure that experience is denied to his opponent, whereas with the skeletons you obviously can't pull that little trick off. You can as many as you want as long as the duration is still active for them. So a bit of an advantage in that little fight, and that therefore gave extra experience to the Orc player. Sentry wards are getting placed right now, so close enough to the expansions that he can see when there's a creep headed his way. There's also this time the Dust of Appearance being used. After the last game he doesn't want to play with that problem anymore. There's the added advantage of having those charges ready when the Fiends are coming in with Burrow. But if your opponent is playing around Cloak of Shadows, then you want to have that for sure. Death Knight with continuous pressure against the Farseer, as you can tell. So he's really trying to make sure that the Farseer is under enormous pressure from the get-go, and it's going to have a tough time to set any kind of creep up here. One coil after another is hitting him. And there's the deny against the sentry wards. Another great use, obviously, for the Dust of Appearance. He missed the first one, on the other hand. Didn't really execute it there properly. Instead, he was dropping it in the middle, where there was none. And the Farseer is still on the run. But now, obviously, with the shop and the food launch in play, he was able to also get some healing salves for himself. And that helps him now to heal up again, up to the point where he got attacked by the Death Knight once more with another coil. And that Farseer is really having a bad day. I mean, that Farseer is really annoyed right now. Doesn't have level 2 yet. And that's fantastic for EnTe. I mean, seriously, he's also trying to get the Forest Troll High Priest here. Needs a little bit more damage against it, though, if he really wants to drop it with the coil and then steal that away. One more hit. There we have it. There's the coil. Oh, gets the experience and gets the item, but needs to get the hell out of there, too, and might actually fall. Uses the replenishment potion immediately, and it's cancelled. The Death Knight on the run, scroll of speed being used, level 2, and there's a chain lightning attempt, but the portal used by EnTe, just because he moved out of vision for a second, was the chain lightning cancelled as he was stopping for the animation. But boy, that was a weird one. That was a weird encounter. EnTe willing to pretty much sacrifice the town portal in order to steal the item and the experience away. But now he's also extremely low as well. So yeah, bit of a problem for him. Either way, as it stands, we're currently having EnTe down at the bottom of the map, trying to get some experience for himself, top side. That's where we're currently having Cash attempting to get some XP too. And, well, right now the main question is obviously, can that expansion at some point be taken down? Because Cash's MO is quite the same. Doesn't have to change winning strategy here. There's really nothing that he needs to do in order to... I mean, he is playing a really solid style, and that style is working out for him. So now we're having a Crypt Fiend being built. There's two already in the mix. We're looking at the Lich as the second hero. We're still going to see the attempt to go and hit a timing against his opponent. Keep in mind that the last time that happens, the Raiders were already out, which meant that it was pretty easy for the Orc player to drop the Destroyers early on, and therefore the entire ground army was still extremely powerful. Warmill in action. There's the first upgrade already with the Ensnare coming through. Scout with the Acolyte is in, so EnTe is well aware what's happening right now and also knows the timing of it. He's still trying to creep here a little bit, and I gotta say that this time he at least is able to keep his opponent a lot lower than in the last game, and that is that's worth quite a lot. So we have already a potion being used here. I didn't go into the death pact, so I had to use the potion as the Farseer on level 3 was coming in. Obviously for Cash, the entire setup is now centered on the Tauren Chieftain as he's trying to get the level 3 into play. Started things off with the Endurance Aura again, but once they have the War Storm ready for, then a big fight too. As all of those grunts a little bit low, and there's level 2. So War Storm is already in. Cash is sitting at 36 supply right now, 37 for EnTe at the same time. And still the Acolyte attack against the Great Hall here. In the main base, the tech into tier 3 is nearly done, and then we're going to see the Destroyer upgrade coming in early on. But the main problem for the Undead is that the harass that we're seeing from the Farseer is starting to become a little bit of a pain, and is attempting to shut down any kind of experience gain that EnTe could possibly make here. So EnTe is currently attempting to play around the choke point. But things are starting to become quite annoying, and for Cash this is the dream. I mean, Cash is building his expansion, he's solo creeping with the ETC and the units, harassing with the Farseer at the same time, and that Farseer is trying to get the experience right now and forces coils like the one that we've just seen against the Ogre Mauler to ensure that he is getting that experience. The continuous pressure against heroes like the Lich is obviously not going to make things easier for him. But still, at least the Orb of Corruption in the inventory of the Lich that helps with the armor reduction quite significantly. So Forest Troll, Berserkers are both down, and now it's time to focus a bit more heavily onto the item. As we're having on the other side the Tauren Chieftain in the inventory now with the Potion of Invulnerability. Another great item for him. I mean, again, it's not the aura item that we've seen in the previous game, but it's definitely nothing to sneeze on. Great item not only to get that guy into action, but also if there's a Dark Ranger third coming in again with Silence, you can break through that too and ensure that those Storms are hitting home and hitting hard. 40 supply now for EnTe. And we're having Cash on 49 supply with the expansion just now working out. Now, the one thing to also note with an expansion is obviously that an expansion is early on just a big investment that you have. You are really dumping a lot of money into that thing, and it takes quite some time for it to actually pay off and give you an advantage over your opponent. And that's exactly that window that you are trying to hit as an opponent when you are attempting to make sure that there is no advantage yet through the expansion. And this is exactly what we're seeing here. I mean, we have the Pit Lord this time coming through, so it's already looking at the potential cleave then that we're going to see from him. Howl of Terror can be fantastic. But there's another item. And in this case, we're actually seeing the Helm of Valor as he takes down the level 7 creep. But he's also going to force the town portal here. Can he take maybe even the Kodo Beast before that is through? And yes! The Kodo is down. The portal successful, but that was already a lot being used here. If he can drop a unit or two into that peon line, that would be of course fantastic. Even if you have an expansion, if your peons are all down, then that doesn't really matter a whole lot. So if you can take these units apart quickly, that would be great, and then you can really just delay that fight and are going to find yourself in a decent position here. Double Destroyer already on play. We're having a couple of those peons taken down, one only to be exact, so he wants to take it down a little bit more, and that's exactly what those skeletons could be for, but he pulls them into the army. Scroll of Haste already being used, and the immediate first storm comes through. They're trying to make the play for the Raider to shut down the ensnare attempts of the Orc player. The Howl of Terror against the forces of the Orc. The Kodo Beast also going to be another focus once that he's trying to go straight in for the snack party. Level 3 on both of the heroes that we're seeing for the Orc player, and he has additional Scroll of Healing in the inventory of the Farseer as well. Kodo down, Aura negated, and also the Fiend back to business to drop some damage. Cash is sitting on 52 supply against the 38 that we have for EnTe. Again, the aggression with the Stomp, the split on the side of the Undead player to make sure that at least the Death Knight can't be hit by the same time that we're seeing that Lich getting connected to. Another attempt to take down the Raider, and this one falls as well. Kodo Beast so far without a Devour, but here comes the focus onto the Death Knight, and he has nothing and falls once more. No Potion of Lesser Invulnerability, no Death Pact, no nothing, and that is game. EnTe 800 gold on the bank, but he drops against Cash, who's sitting at 50 supplies, sitting pretty, and takes the victory in the best of 3 series with the 2-0 to advance to the semi-final of the winner bracket in the Endgame Gear Master playoffs against White and Nerdy. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video, and I hope that you enjoyed the match and the commentary. The remaining time of the video has been added to protect against spoilers caused by the length of the video itself. But please keep in mind, though, that this does not only mean more work for me, but also has a negative impact on the popularity of the videos and the channel because of YouTube's algorithms. It would be greatly appreciated if you'd consider supporting the channel and help me to continue the daily esports coverage by clicking the join button below the video or supporting me through the Patreon page linked in the video description. Thanks a lot for the support, and see you guys next time.